Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Cherie Carroll. That's a pretty name.
Thank you.
And you're going to tell us about your near-death experience.
Yes.
Okay. So start wherever you like.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. I haven't told many people about this. I didn't really tell but maybe 5 people until last year when I went on Facebook with my story. It had been 33 years since it happened. And on that anniversary, I came out. And that's how you probably found out about me.
Right.
Um, my experience began with a drug problem. I was working the oil fields and I had hurt myself. And at the time, I was in with someone who was a heroin addict who I really didn't realize to what extent. And back then, it was powdered form. So when I hurt my neck in the oil field, I broke my hand in 3 places, cracked my vertebrae, had migraine headaches. I asked him, and I had been living with him a couple years and never touched it, but I asked him for a line to snort, because I wanted to get rid of the pain. And he gave me a line and it took away the pain. And then the next day, the same thing, took away the pain, and it went on from there. Well, after about a month or two, you could no longer get the powdered form of heroin. I believe it was China White. You had to get tar, which meant you had to shoot it up. Well, by then I was addicted. Didn't even realize what was happening to me, but I was addicted. And so I shot myself up in my arm right here. I don't know if you can see it or not. There's a big gash out.
Okay, yeah.
Um, and I kind of ignored it, prayed it would go away, and it didn't go away, and it turned into gangrene. And at that time, I had waited so long, it had swollen about this far up,
Oh,
turning turquoise green. I went into the doctors, and the 2 doctors, after I'd been there a day, 2 days, were discussing a new treatment the one doctor wanted to try. And the other doctor was, we're having much luck on that. It's still in the infancy. And he said, but, it's an extreme case, but in case not, it doesn't work, we need to decide where to amputate. So one was drawing a line right here. One was drawing a line up here. And so when I was going into surgery a couple days later, they were administering this drug through an IV. A couple days later, they felt I was strong enough to go into surgery. I went into surgery and I remember counting backwards, remember going out. That's the last thing I remember. Until all of a sudden I heard my heart monitor going just bananas. And I heard the doctor screaming, we're losing her, we're losing her. And all of a sudden I heard a long beep. And when I heard the long beep, I was actually above my body. And I could see them rubbing a gel and these 2 little round paddles on my chest. And at that time I was looking off to the sides and there was a beautiful tunnel. It was full of lights and I wanted to be there. I didn't want to be looking down at this body.
hmm
I wanted to be up there. And I seen this tunnel and I was going through it and I seen a beautiful light at the top of it. And it was calling me. It was just, I wanted to be there. And so I entered through this tunnel and I'm walking through this light and I come across pathway, and it was, once I hit through the light, I had no pain, no anxiety, just pure joy. And I loved it. I couldn't believe it because after being on heroin for 7 years and jumping in trash cans every day to get my fix, because, I didn't want to prostitute myself, but I was jumping in trash cans, getting my glass, aluminum. I was living through hell for 7 years. So to be up in this beautiful place, it was such joy. I don't even have the words to describe it, but I was very happy to be there. Just then, from one of the sides of the pathway, my granddad stood there. And I ran up and gave him the biggest hug, and he was hugging me, and he was so happy. He had passed 6 months before this happened, and I had taken care of him for 13 years. And so I get up there and I'm being directed towards this beautiful light, full of color and light music. And it was beautiful. And it was actually, I knew it was Jesus right there. And Jesus began to talk to me, and I began to talk to Jesus, but we weren't using words. He was talking to my brain and I was talking. I wasn't aware that I wasn't in my body. I knew I had left my body down here, but I wasn't aware that, I didn't have a body. And I was telling him, I'm so sorry, I know I was doing wrong, I don't have any excuses, for you. I'm sorry, and Jesus was basically telling me, you've done a lot of good in your life. I'm not judging you on what you just went through. You're a good person. You're one of mine. You've always been one of mine. And I'm like, wow, I couldn't believe it that, here I messed up so bad. And he was just reassuring me that I was okay. And next thing I knew, I said, oh, I just want to stay here. I feel so much love. And Jesus said, well, before you do that, I want to show you something. And he showed me a vision of my mom and dad. And my dad, who I only seen tears in his eye one time before, was a retired chief of police. And he was crying. And he was feeling guilt that how could one of my daughter, after being in police work all my life, turn into this and me not know it? My mom was crying, and my 13-year-old daughter at the time was crying, and I thought, wow, here all this time I thought, well, I'm only hurting myself. I didn't realize how much pain I was causing everybody else. And then right after that, I seen an obituary, and it was saying Cherie Jeffers died, drugs. And I thought, I was so much more than that before I got onto drugs. I was doing TV commercials. I was a credit manager. And then I went to work in the oil fields, and that's how I got on drugs. So I thought, Jesus, I really want to stay here right now. I want to stay here. I want to be here. But I want a chance to go back so that I can prove myself. So I don't leave that world as a drug addict, somebody causing this much pain. Just then I felt just falling like 100 miles an hour. And then I remember slamming into my body, and I felt myself jerk up. And then I heard the doctor say, we got her, we got her. And then the next thing I remember is waking up in a recovery room. I didn't stay awake after they said, we got her, we got her. I went out. And when I woke up, I had promised Jesus when I was up there, said, let me come down, let me prove myself. I'll never touch drugs again. I just want a chance to prove myself. And I made that promise. And I knew right then and there in that recovery room, I would never use drugs again. I didn't care who believed in me, and nobody did. You use heroin every day for 7 years, you're dumping in trash cans. People aren't going to believe you. But I believed me. And that was the only person that mattered. I knew 100% I would never go that way again. Well, after I came out, I went back to the guy I lived with, and they were all doing their drugs, and, oh, we feel so bad for you. And I'm going, why? It's costing you $100 to feel as good as I feel right now. And they, will you want something? No, I don't. And I never touched it again. A couple months later, I moved out. I got a roommate, and I went to work at Children's Center. And after that, I decided, I think I want to go back to college. So I went to Monterey College, lived with my mom, and ended up being a microbiology assistant, a physiology assistant, having 23 writings, some of my writings published through the Monterey Peninsula Journal. I end up on the honor roll. I end up accomplishing so much after that. And when I was working at Jameson Children's Center, I had met a man, and I had gotten married to him and had 2 more little girls. It didn't last. When I was just found out I was pregnant, I signed the final divorce papers, and I had the 2 girls, but I raised them by myself. I had my mom there to help me, and I went on to be general manager for Denny's, working at Bakersfield College as a physiology assistant. But all this time, I never really told anybody about my experiences. Because the few times I did, when it first happened to me and I went back to live with my boyfriend who was using drugs, they were all laughing at me. Oh, tell us again how you saw Jesus. You know, they didn't believe it. So it wasn't worth my time. The other time I had mentioned it to a nurse when I had my second daughter, she noticed the gap in my arm and asked me what happened. I told her the story. And I was all ready to leave. She said, okay, we're all getting you ready. And she goes, well, one moment. Well, she had ran and told the doctor. Well, I couldn't leave with my child. They
Wow.
wanted, even though my child weighed 9 pounds, 8 ounces and was a full-term baby, they wanted to test her for drugs because the story I had told the nurse.
Mhm.
They wanted to test me for drugs. And it took another 3, 4, 5 hours before I could go out there. And I was so crushed, you know, so that was the last time I had actually had mentioned my story, you know, to anybody. And then 33 years went by and I thought, you know, I really need to get this out because there's people out there, there's 2 groups of people that need to hear it. There's the drug addicts that are jumping in the trash or prostituting themselves, whatever they're doing to get their drugs, to know that somebody can come back. And you don't need gangrene in your arm to do it these days. They've got medication to help you get over your withdrawal systems. Because that's what I couldn't get past, the throwing up, diarrhea, every joint in my body aching. I couldn't get past that. And I knew that I was $20 away from taking that feeling away. And that's what kept me going on. But there's help out there. You know, my 2 reasons for wanting to do this with you, Peggy, is maybe some drug addict out there or their parents or somebody could hear about this and know that you can go get help and then you can accomplish so much more. Don't leave this world a loser. You know, don't leave this world a drug addict. You have so much, and everybody has so much inside them to give, you know,
How do
and
we
this,
get through to people? You know, like I told you about my youngest adopted son. How
right.
do we, what can a person do, a parent do, or anybody that, you know, has a child or a loved one in this? I mean, what possibly can we do to want
It's,
it, I guess?
they have to get to a point where they hit rock bottom. You know, they have to get to that point to where they lose everything and hit rock bottom. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. You can't help somebody. I mean, you can direct them, and when they're ready, be there to, here, you know, go see these people. They're going to put you in a rehabilitation center. They're going to give you medication so that you don't have to live this way. You know, and eventually everybody does get to the point where they hit rock bottom. Unfortunately, what happens in a lot of cases is they die because of the drugs out there on the street before that happens. You know, before they hit the rock bottom, they don't make it. I know a lot of people who didn't make it. You know, my own daughter, my middle daughter, ended up after she left home getting involved with some guy that was on drugs, and she got on drugs. And I ended up with her daughter. I took custody of her daughter when she was a year old. And matter of fact, she lives here now with us, you know, and my daughter, I couldn't help her. I knew I couldn't help her. I knew I was in that position. My dad being a chief of police, I never went to him for help. You know, you have to want to get better. And that's the frustrating part. It took my daughter 5 years of being out on the streets and getting abused and going through hell before she finally went to the, you know, halfway house rehabilitation center. She went to 2 different ones and finally it clicked. And she was in California. I was here in Kansas. I said, we got halfway houses here. She wanted to see her daughter, you know, and she's been in one. She's held down a job. She's getting a car. She's seeing her daughter. We go to church every Saturday night, you know, so, and she never wants to use drugs again. So there is hope, and they do reach that point. The problem is we lose so many people before they do reach that point, you know, and it breaks my heart, but I pray about it. there wasn't a day go by I didn't pray for my daughter, and my thing is go to the rehab center. Go get yourself help. Whoever hears this, go get yourself help. And then you can live a life and be happy here. And my other thing was to the people who are losing loved ones or who have lost loved ones, which I recently lost a very good friend of mine. And before that, my best friend had passed on. I say passed on because you don't pass away, you pass on. And my mom going through her death and my dad, but then I realized what awaits them. And it's pure joy, pure happiness, and I was teasing my one daughter. I was saying, well, someday you're going to be at my grave crying and, really in deep despair. And I said, but don't be, because I'm going to be up there going, I get to be with Jesus. I get to be with Jesus. So I guess that's my message that I wanted to get across is to the addicts out there. And it seems like back in my day, we called it crank, but I guess they call it meth now.
Okay.
It's the stuff you use to zoom, 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 go, go, go. And it breaks my heart because I see them walking down the streets and they're, just out of their minds. They're not here. They start projects, they don't finish them. They, a constant hustle. It can't be a good life. And a good life here on earth can await people.
That's what our youngest adopted son is on, is meth.
Yes, yes. I've seen it destroy a lot of lives, and I've seen a lot of people get off it as well. So that's encouraging. I've seen people recover, and that's what, unfortunately, I wish there were more facilities, more treatment centers out there, and it would be where somebody comes saying, look, I need help. And bam, okay, we're going to put you in here. And, but there's a stigma that because they got themselves into that a lot of people don't feel that we need to help. Some people get into it innocently. Some people, yahoo, party, and before they know it, they're a victim of it. But either way, I thoroughly believe that there's not only help out there, but that these people can get off it. Don't ever lose
Yeah.
hope.
He finally went into rehab because he had two felonies, and
Hmm.
they offered him the rehab instead of the conviction, but it's the deal where you get 3 years probation, and if you violate anything on a probation, then it's like a guilty,
Right.
sentence. And so, and he just has only been on that probation a few months, and he's already got a domestic violence and
Mhm.
two disorderly conduct. So I
But
guess he'll serve his time.
Peggy, sometimes when they do go to prison, that gets them off it too. Because then they got time to think. They don't have any access to drugs. They got
I
time
would
to
like
think.
to think that, but then I've heard people say there's more drugs in prison than on the street. So I don't know.
I don't. I don't know if that's true or not. Luckily I never spent time in prison, which is a miracle, you know. But my daughter did go to prison for about a year because she was homeless, trying to keep warm, and she accidentally started a fire. So they got her for arson, but she did go to prison for a year. And after that, she went to the halfway house, but that prison straightened her right up.
Yeah.
It made her think, made her read her Bible, made her realize the horrible mistakes she made, and she couldn't make up time with her daughter that she had missed. So, yeah. And so now I never give up hope.
I was a
Just,
counselor in a women's maximum security, And I didn't feel like I was helping anybody or
Yeah.
that. So I don't know. I'm like at this hopeless phase in my life right now. Like,
Oh, well, I'd never give up hope. Never give up hope. Keep praying. Keep praying about it. I mean, I prayed every day for 5 years. God answers prayers in the weirdest way too. I
like
know
he calls me from jail and I can't do it.
it breaks your heart.
He's put us through so much because of his kids. He signed his kids over to the state. I mean, dearly loved his children. He wants them to be adopted out. And I don't get that. I don't, it's just like we've been through too much, after a
Yeah.
while, you're just like, I don't think there's anything left in me. Like I thought today I maybe should go visit him in jail. And I thought, I don't think I could look at him.
Mm-mm.
I just got to that point that I don't have anything to say. I don't think I want to set eyes on him because he's just a manipulator, liar. It's just, you know, like, and he told me those 2 years he was on meth, it was like one day. Like he don't even know why he did those things to us. And I think
Mm-mm.
it's just an excuse. I mean, I just, I don't have that in me, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And the drugs have a way of turning people into something you can't recognize too. You know, when my daughter was out on the streets and doing her drugs and all that, I, I couldn't believe a word she said. I just I lost it for her. A lot. I had to make myself strong so that they found her body behind a dumpster. I could go on. You know, it gets to that point sometimes where you just, God, I'm leaving it in your hands.
Yeah.
You know, I'm leaving your hands. And you can't let somebody else's addiction or problems affect your happiness. You know, you're married, you and your husband need to be happy and go on your trips and just say, peace be with you.
Yeah. I mean, my
I
husband
hope
has
everything
stage 4
works
colon
out.
cancer. You know what I
Yes,
mean? We need support from our children right now.
right.
I
Yes, you
don't have a
do.
lot to give.
Mhm.
People that just want to stomp on me and slam doors in my face and lie and just try to hurt me all they can. I
Yes,
just don't have it in me. And I
yeah.
don't want it in me.
No, no. After a while, you have to, in order to keep your own sanity and your own happiness, you have to block a lot of people away. You know, you have to, even if they're related to you or friends, there has to come a point where you say, okay, I'm dealing with my stuff now. I don't have time for yours.
Hmm.
I hope you get well. I hope you do well. But I'm concentrating on my husband. I'm concentrating on myself right now.
And he's
You know,
almost
it's
30
hard
years
thing.
old, you
Yeah,
know. There comes
right.
a time where I can't be that mommy to you anymore,
No,
you
no.
know.
And they expect it. That's what's sad about it. They expect it, you know, to their kids, they're not the parent, but they expect it from you. You know, you're going to give your kids away, but you expect people that raised
Right,
you,
right.
you know, to bend over backwards and do everything they can for you, but you gave your kids away. That's what
Yeah.
I don't,
I see him as my grandchildren's abuser.
yeah,
That's all I could see,
yeah,
is I know now the abuse and things that they went through and the torture. And I can't.
no.
So, I kind of put that out there just because I know a lot of people are going through this.
Oh yeah, they especially, you know, and you're not as old as I am. I'm 68, you know, but I see it a lot more with the older people being pressured into these 30-year-olds, you know, that haven't got their act together.
Mhm.
I had my first job at 13. You know,
Me
when
too.
I was 20, I was a credit. We were taking care of stuff.
Right.
And our kids, we were taking care of our kids.
Hmm.
But then they hit, you know, they're out here and they're 30 and 35 and
They want to still be little kids.
yes,
And
yes,
that's
they
to
still
spoil
want
them.
somebody. somebody to take care of them
Mhm.
and take and fix the problems that they created, but yet they have kids that they're just, oh, well,
Yeah,
and that's what I don't understand that part of it,
yeah.
you know. Um, I don't.
Because I feel like I've done that. I've been the carrying the burden, and that hasn't worked for him. So maybe me not answering the phone, first time in his life that I haven't rushed to his aid,
Oh,
rushed,
yeah.
everybody's aid, and it's like, mm-mm, you know.
No, it's time to live. No, now I need support. I've supported you through all this bullshit all these years. Now I need support. Where's my support?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to just cut your kids off. I hate to say that, but there comes a point where you have to cut them off until they reach the point where they have awareness of how they treated you and what's going on. And then you bring them back in. But you gotta say, not right now.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Because if I was to see him in jail, I would have to be honest and say, I hope you get sent to prison or you
absolutely.
kill somebody or kill
Mm-hmm.
yourself. I mean, and oh, he would blow up. That's not what he wants to hear. But that would be my honest feeling, and I couldn't sit there and be fake and make him think I believe the crap he's trying to tell me.
Oh, no.
I mean, he's not
That's like,
innocent of anything.
no. That's like when my daughter, I was so relieved when she would go to jail or when she went to prison because I didn't have to worry about her being out there on the streets
Hmm.
and getting an overdose or, getting raped or, whatever. And she went through all that. So, I didn't have to worry. She was safe, as safe as you can be in prison, but at least you're not out in the cold and you're not hungry, you're getting fed. And that's how I had to, that's what I put up with for, about 4 or 5 years with my daughter, which is thank God you're in jail. Thank God you're in prison. And
Yeah,
that's sad.
he choked somebody unconscious,
Hmm.
unconscious, put his hands around somebody's throat, and I'm like, I don't want to go near anybody that's capable of doing that to
No, mm-mm,
I
no,
how can you do that? I
yeah,
can't go around
yeah,
anybody. That's how I am, I just I've lived a clean life. And
yes,
yes, I've worked in places where I know a lot of bad stuff happens and I can deal with that, but my own child, mm-mm, yeah. I called the victim actually and talked to him off and on for a couple days and got the
yeah,
whole story and everything. And so he that is what it is. And
yeah. It breaks your heart that when your kids do something or, cause somebody else pain too, I mean,
I'm
how
not
do
one of
you,
these parents, like I know a lot of people are, they will defend their kids. If they get
mm-mm,
in trouble at school or they get in trouble with the law or whatever, or domestic violence, they always take their child's side, not the wife's side, not the girlfriend's side, not the, whoever got her side. And it's like their kid never does any wrong. I've never been that person. I'm like, you get caught cheating on a test, we will go to the teacher and tell them, you get caught stealing something in a store, I'm walking you right back in, you return.
right,
I've
right.
been that person. And so that's not me.
That's like I was raised very strict with it. My dad being a police officer all my life, and then he ended up being a chief police, and we were raised very strict, and it was yes, sir, no, ma'am. You opened doors for people. You were taught manners, and I'm thinking nowadays they're like, oh, you can't yell at your kid, or you can't.
Well,
And I'm thinking,
our son, he was altar boy. He went with a priest every Sunday, giving communion to the sick and visiting people in nursing homes and all these things. And oh, he turned 18 and like somebody flipped a switch. Like the whole
yeah,
world can kiss his rear end and
right,
the school can kiss his rear end. He dropped out of school. He was top of his class in welding. He could be making like 300,000 a year right now, a welding job.
right.
He had everything at his feet. He had a guaranteed job when he graduated. And then he just has done nothing. But, um, I was like, well, I don't know what more we could have done. And you
No,
can't, it doesn't come down to the parents sometimes. It's like,
no, no, it's just, I see a lot of parents these days letting their kids get away with being very rude and, talking to their, elders and, adults like with total disrespect. And I think that needs to be nipped in the bud right there. Um, but you're right, once they turn 18, you have no say so, and they could get with somebody, like my daughter got with this guy that was all a druggie and started using drugs, even though she knew my story. And I always told her, I said, I don't know what's going to happen with you or your circumstances down the line, but don't you ever use heroin. Don't you ever. And she ended up using heroin. So, you know, I guess they all learn their own lessons, but I
this
would
made
think,
that third adopted child of ours that lost their kids due to drugs.
Mhm.
We didn't have, of course, any of that, in our
Yeah,
home growing up, but they all went back to biologicals when they turned 18 out of curiosity, and that's what they were all still into. And
right.
part of the reason why, they lost custody of the kids when they were little. And I'm not blaming them because they didn't have to do that. It's like, oh, this is funny. This is grown up adults with bonding with their children they lost custody of years ago by drugs, by
Yeah.
looking cool, I guess. They think that's looking cool to those kids.
Yeah.
And the kids want to bond with them. I don't know, but that's what they do. They got choices. But then the other kids did okay. They're being
Yeah.
good parents. They're holding down jobs and
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys have gone way beyond the Call of Duty, taking kids that weren't even yours. You know, you've improved the lives of a lot of kids. Some didn't make it.
yeah,
It's sad because you love each one of them, but at the same time, like, I would let, and I know it sounds cold, but I would let your adopted son just not answer his calls. Let him know that, okay, this is what it feels like when a parent's not there,
yeah,
you know. Now maybe you'll know how it feels for your kids because you're not there,
right. Good point.
and it's possible he'll learn that, very possible.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to ask you something about your near-death experience. You knew you had a body. Did you look down and see a body, or did you feel it was there?
I felt it was there. Yes, I felt it was there. I know that I hugged my granddad. He had a body, you
Did he
know,
look the same as he did in life?
he looked so good. Well, I took care of him for 13 years. And towards the end there, he needed a lot of care. Alzheimer's started setting in and he needed a lot of care. And he looked bad. And he had been in a fire. um, 3 days before Christmas, a fire went off in my house. He had pulled a heater into his bed and started a big old fire anyway.
Oh,
He ended up going, and that was December 22nd. He ended up going into the hospital. And although the outside of his burns pretty well healed up, the inside had done a lot of damage. So
oh,
on February 20th, he passed on. But yeah, so he wasn't looking too good. Matter of fact, I'm the one that was right there when he did pass. And I was hysterical and I closed his eyes and then when I seen him, because I was very close with my granddad. It's my dad's dad. I was
oh,
in growing up, he always had like a Winnebago outside, or he lived in our back room, or so, and he'd always wake me up at 5 in the morning and take me out to the coffee shop, buy me
oh.
some coffee and a donut. My brothers were sleeping, but but he was a very special man. If he had $5, he'd give me $4 and keep a dollar just in case I needed it. That's the
Um,
type of person he was. He was very giving. And losing him, and of course I was on my addiction during the time I lost him. And he knew about my addiction, and he's saying, honey, you're a good person. He goes, anybody can get addicted to anything. I'm addicted to my coffee, I mean, so he was very understanding and very, very sweet. And I took care of him. And when I seen him, he looked so happy. He was glowing. He was just, he was in good physical shape. He wasn't all hunched down. He was, yeah.
What did
So I
Jesus look
knew,
like?
oh my gosh. Basically, when Jesus was talking to me, it was just beautiful, beautiful colored lights speaking to me. I knew that Jesus was there, but I couldn't actually describe a
Form?
physical appearance. The light was talking to me, and Jesus was talking. I knew that was Jesus, but I didn't see like a human body. Some people do, I guess. I didn't. I just, the lights were brilliant and beautiful, and I knew that was Jesus right there. But
When you,
as far as
go ahead. Go as far as what? Oh,
as
physical.
far as seeing like a face or a body from him, I didn't see it. No, I knew it was him, but I didn't see a human
How
form.
did he show you the vision of the obituary? What was that like?
Well, when I was standing in front of him, he said, I first want to show you some things, when I said, oh, I love it here. Thank you. Thank you. I'm here. And he showed me like, it was almost like a movie reel of my mom and dad, and my daughter, and then the actual newspaper clipping laying right before me. Yeah.
Okay. Did you like it just like a screen appear? This like
It was, it wasn't so much on a screen, but it was like a movie playing in front of me, if that makes any
it
sense.
does. Hmm.
And then as far as the obituary, it was, a piece of paper in front of my eyes. And then one of the weird things, or one of the things I remember too, is that I knew there was like a pathway in Jesus, but here it went on and on, endless. And here it went on and on, endless. And way back in the background, on one of the sides, I could hear children laughing.
Oh.
And they were laughing and they were playing. I couldn't see them.
Hmm.
I could hear just faint children really happy, laughing and playing. So I knew I couldn't wait to get to the other parts. But unfortunately, I was restricted to this pathway, and I knew there was, I don't know how to describe it, but my ancestors or people who had came before me, I knew they were out there. I could feel all this love and warmth coming in. And I knew there was a lot of people waiting to meet me and to greet me, which didn't happen because but
What
one of
was
these days,
what was it like when you were begging, wanting to come back?
it was kind of strange because I really didn't want to come back,
Okay.
but I asked Jesus to come back because I didn't want to leave the way I was leaving for my parents, for my daughter, because I was so much more before I got into drugs. I didn't want people to remember me that way. I still have conscious of worrying about, other people. And so when I was asking Jesus, I said, Jesus, I want to be here. I really, really want to be here. But please let me go back. Let me prove myself. I said, I'll never do drugs again. I'll never do drugs again. I don't want to go back to do drugs. I just want to go back to prove myself.
And it's so funny that the day that you posted that on anniversary of it, I just happened to stumble on your Facebook. I didn't know who you were or
Oh, wow.
anything. And
Yes.
I remember I had messaged you and I forgot all about it because it was several months back. Well, it had to be in December, right?
Yes, December 7th, 1990 was the day that it happened. And it was the December 7th, the 23rd, that I actually decided it's been 33 years. I'm going to tell my story. And the positive feedback, Peggy, that I got from that was incredible. People were on both sides. Some people were, thank you so much. You give me hope. You know, I've got a child that's an addict, or I'm going, through an addiction problem, or, people, thank you. You need to share your story. You're going to help somebody out there, and then the people that, I recently lost my husband, and you give me hope that, someday that, I'll be able to see him again. So the positive feedback that I got from that Facebook, and I just wrote it to I knew my story had to be told. And I waited 33 years, and I was thinking about, even before I posted on Facebook, right before, I thought, well, maybe I should go to NA and share my story with these people. Maybe I share my story at church. Maybe somebody's going through something like this. And I says, so I said, I'm going to post it, and hopefully because I knew that I had to get it out there. But at the same time, you got to realize the person that I was before I got on drugs, I was very successful. And the person I became after I got off drugs, very successful. I was credit manager, physiology assistant, microbiology. So I knew I was exposing myself to that 7-year period that people knew nothing about, that I was jumping in trash cans to make money every day to get it fixed and feed my kid and my granddad. And that's something you're vulnerable. You don't want to put yourself out there as that type of person, but I was.
It's more important than our ego.
Right.
Like me
Right.
talking about my son,
Yes.
me talking about my husband's cancer, you know, well, there's other people going through things, and that's more important if it helps somebody than it is me trying to look so perfect that our
Right.
family's never had a problem.
Right.
Who's that
And
help?
that was my thing too. I thought, you know what, if I can help in any way, maybe it'll just hit a couple ears or help a couple people, but it'll help. Then I don't care. Yeah,
Mhm.
people are not perfect. I was not perfect. I'm sure that the people that will see this, who know me, will go, no way, Cherie, just like your thing, oh, wow, how can you be so strong, for other people when you're going through all this hell yourself, you gotta, you're doing it to help people as well. And I really admire that, Peggy.
Because, some people could be, oh, huh, I don't go through anything like that. And they may be. They just don't want anybody to
Mhm.
know.
Yeah,
Kind of like rape, somebody may
right,
say, oh, I don't know, I've never been raped. Or maybe they have, and they just cannot bring it to the surface.
right, right.
So, but when we can say, honey, that happened to me too, or yeah, we went through that, and be human with people.
Hmm. And maybe it'll help, parents have a better understanding, I mean, I was chief of police daughter,
Yeah.
and I got into it, we don't know circumstances of people, and hopefully we can share when we do get out of it to help those that have no hope.
Yeah. It makes me think of years ago, there was a young college student at our church. His parents were big people in the church, and he got caught at the university with marijuana. He
Hmm.
committed suicide because he shamed his family,
Oh,
of
yeah,
marijuana. They
yeah,
all could have got past it, and he could have had a life, but he did that. And I'm like, wow,
yeah,
people need to let other people know, hey, it's okay. We mess up, we're here for you.
right.
And like your dad being chief of police, it
Mhm.
happens to every family. Drug addiction happens
It
to
sure
all walks of
does.
life.
It sure does. My two brothers, my brother became a police officer and my other brother became a RN. They never got into
Mhm.
the drugs. So I was kind of like the black sheep of the family, the only girl, the baby. But it happened, and I'm sure at that time, not only did I put my mom and dad through all sorts of worry and heck, and my daughter, my 13-year-old daughter, and my brothers, there's a lot of people. You think you're only hurting yourself, or you tell
Well,
yourself,
and a lot of people get into it the same reason you did,
yes,
taking something for pain, and
yeah,
then they're addicted.
yes. And they don't know what's happening to them. The first time that I went without it, I started going through withdrawals. I didn't know what withdrawals were. All I knew was I was puking, I was diarrheaing, I had every bone in my body hurting, and it felt like anxiety, like 100 red ants just running up and down my body. And I knew then that my boyfriend at the time was saying, "Oh, ha 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 ha, you're going through withdrawals." Well, I don't like this. I can't stand this. So I'd go and what, $20 gonna keep me from feeling this way. So and it went on for 7 years. 7 years it went on just because I wanted to avoid the pain and you know, the sickness. And you don't get high anymore with heroin. After a while, you get normal. You don't get high. You
Mhm.
just get functional to where
When
you
I,
can.
that I would hear that a lot when I was a drug counselor. They would
Mhm.
say they weren't taking it to get high anymore. They were taking it to not be sick.
Right,
And I'll never forget one guy said, he was a young guy and, looked physically fit, but he said he was driving down the road and it hit him. There was an old lady out there push mowing her yard. And he thought she's healthier than I am because he was too dope sick to be able to do anything like that.
right.
And that was a turning point for him to look at that old lady and think, I'm worse off than she is health wise.
Yeah, that's like when I was living with the guy that was on heroin. I didn't realize he was a heroin addict. My dad, of course, did a police background check like he did all my boyfriends on him and said, "Hey, this guy's been busted for heroin before." And I said, "Oh, thanks, Dad, but no, he's not on heroin." Because he would get up in the morning, he was a carpenter, and go to work, come home, everything be normal. He'd act normal. What I didn't realize is he had been a heroin addict for so long that he was going to get his fix in the morning before work and coming home and doing
Mhm.
it without me knowing he was normal. Because
Yeah,
that's the way I met him. He
right.
was normal.
At the Suboxone clinic, they said that was just to sell to get what they wanted.
Yeah.
And they spent the whole day looking for what they wanted with the money they got from selling their Suboxone. And
Oh,
that was their day, every day,
yeah.
repeat, repeat, every day.
That was me. I couldn't bring myself, all the other heroin addicts that I knew were prostituting themselves. I couldn't bring myself to do that. So I would go take our El Camino filled up with cardboard, glass, aluminum, get about $100 a day, get enough to feed my granddad or my granddad and my daughter, and the first time that I realized how good it felt to be off drugs was after I'd been off drugs. I was a counselor for the Beach Children's Center and I was making good money. And I went to the grocery store and I was filling up my cart and it dawned on me, I'm not going, well, wait a minute. I got to save this money here for my fix tonight. I was just filling up my cart, la-di-da, pushing them up there, 200 and something bucks. I didn't care because I didn't have to worry about putting out that money to make me normal, not even high, just normal to where I could function, you know.
I don't know. Wish there'd be more education,
Yes.
in the schools about, because that's what honestly kept me. I mean, yeah, in high school, I liked the marijuana, but I
Yeah.
never went past that. And I quit at 18 when I got pregnant for my first child. But I remember being offered stuff and I no, because I heard in school people come and talk to the class about drugs.
Right.
And I listened, you know, the dangers and all that'll cause this and that. No. And so even though I was kind of a bad kid, I was a good kid, because
Yeah.
there's so lines I wouldn't cross. And that's kind of been where I've been kind of confused is like some of our adopted daughters, there's like no line they won't cross. It's like
Hmm.
it's in our youngest adopted son too. They like to cross all those lines.
Hmm.
There's some kind of rebellion in them, like they are defeating society
Right.
if they can break all the rules and manipulate their way out of everything, manipulate everyone. Our son, he's our youngest adopted son. He's such a manipulator. He's
Hmm.
ever since he was in school, he's sexting several girls at once. And we would catch
Hmm.
him and try to ground him from his phone and talk to the girls. And we caught him start catching him on Asian porn. What was about Asian porn? I don't know. So he was Asian. And so, and so his last victim told us that he my her son told him and this guy's girlfriend that was kind of in the middle of all this that he couldn't get aroused because of something or other. And I'm like, what? Here's pictures online of his wife who you're going through for
Yes,
of this adult only website. Does this look like somebody that would marry someone that couldn't get like it was to
exactly.
make an excuse that, oh, I'm in your wife at night while you're at work with your wife, but it's innocent because I have this condition that I can't get. It's like,
Oh
oh,
my
come on,
God.
right? He has two kids. You're telling me you
Oh
believe
yeah.
that? But yeah, he
Yeah.
believed it. He don't now, but it's like
Yeah.
he's such a manipulator.
Yes. I
And
have met several
everywhere
people
he
like
worked,
that.
he's get these women around his finger, like so many at once. And he got them all, like he was on the phone with me with this woman, and I'm like, Josh, what happened to the lady that works at Walmart? And he's like, Walmart? What are you talking like? Oh, he must be having a relationship with this woman that he works with. Otherwise, he wouldn't be denying the woman he
Right.
just broke up with at Walmart. And then he's got this guy that he just fought over his woman, and then this other woman, and like, how many women do you need? But he started out that as a kid, like had to have the attention of so many women.
Hmm. Yeah, and
I think
now,
that's an addiction.
yes, it is an addiction. And now there are all these sites. People don't just meet and go out on a date anymore. They go through the internet to find dates. And it just, you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, we had him on online school there for a while, and there he is on the sites and stuff, and all these girls he shouldn't be. And so we got him in welding school. Thought that'd be the answer, but yeah, we're talking about. I know people are like we're talking about NDE. It's not about your life, but oh well, it is. But that's life and that's death, and if you live a certain life, then thankfully you were able to be heard and be granted to not have that be your legacy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How do you feel now that you coming out and talking about it?
I feel better. I feel better. I like it was more of a thing where I felt, and I felt this for a long time, that I should be telling people. I should let people know that there is hope
Mm.
and never give up, you know. Now in your case, I would definitely put the halt on. That's not saying you're giving up. That's saying you're hoping down the line that he will be smart enough and learn enough, and he could do this. It's not totally hopeless. He could do this. People change.
Yeah, and he's dangerous,
Yes.
and I can't have that
No,
in our
no,
life.
no, you
My
can't.
husband,
You
um,
can't. And maybe years from now, you know, maybe years from now, he'll change. Maybe he won't, but if he doesn't, that's not on you.
no,
Not at all.
no,
You
mm-mm,
know,
no, not
not
on
at all.
me.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. No,
You've done
Beyonce, it'll be
everything you
30.
can, and that's all
Uh,
you can do. Then you have to reach a point where you shut that door.
yeah.
You know, if they knock on it, you keep it shut until you feel that they're safe, until
Yeah, he had
you
no
feel,
trouble slamming his door in our face. I mean, the house
oh,
shook. We go knock on the door,
yeah,
see if we could see our babies, grandbabies again. He'd slam that door so hard, house would shake. And actually, every time we went and knocked on that door, I felt we were taking our life in our own hands because he would
yeah,
threaten things. And I thought he could just pull something out and we're boom, we're done.
yes.
But we got to make sure those babies are okay, you know. So there's a little gnat just like going around.
But you know, one thing is that those babies are going to get older. Those babies are going to remember you, and those babies will have the power to seek you out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like my daughter sees her daughter once a week, you know. My husband's son is the father. And my daughter and his son made our granddaughter, and that's how I had custody. They were fighting for it after she turned 3, and that's how we got together. But now we live together with my granddaughter, my husband, and I, and his son. But his son only wants my daughter to see her daughter once a week.
Have you
I
thought
tell my
about writing a book? Because you used to be a good writer about your
I
NDE and everything.
I know I've got so many published writings. I've got one on my rape. It says a page from my life and it explains how the person just took a page, not the whole book. The rainbows in my life.
I like
It
that.
goes on and on. I got stacks of them that have been published. And I've been asked by actually my English teacher said, have you ever thought about changing your profession? She goes, you should be a writer. And I've thought about it. I've thought about it. I haven't done it.
You might
You
think
know,
about writing about your NDE story and your
yes.
addiction and everything. Maybe it'd help people.
Yeah, and my rape one I wrote about a page from my life. It explains how, you know, because he cut me up and that, and how, you know, it explains that
Were
when
you
the count,
addicted when that happened?
no, this
Okay.
happened before my addiction. This
Before.
happened when my daughter was 2 years old.
Okay. Your first
Yeah,
daughter.
my first daughter was 2 years.
Okay.
And the guy came in, it was, I was living I had my own mobile home I had gotten. And they had the showers, the women's showers and the men's showers. And it was right before dark and I went in and the lights didn't work, but I was just going to get in there. Well, the
Like
guy
a
came,
bathhouse at a campground?
it was like they had a woman's bathroom with a shower and then a men's bathroom with a
Okay.
shower. And you had a key and I had the key and I went into the woman's shower to take a shower.
Uh-huh.
And I took my shower. I came out, the guy came out with the knife behind me and
Oh.
raped me and ended up slicing open my stomach. And yeah, so
Oh.
when the counselors came to the hospital, they said, well, we really need to, counsel you, you've just been violently raped. And I said, it's not me who you have to counsel. You got to find that 600 bitch and counsel him. He's the one that needs the counseling. And they go, she's going to be just fine.
Would you say 600 what?
They said, no, I said, it's not me that needs counseling. I said, it's that sick son of a,
Oh, six son of a. Okay.
yeah, that
Okay.
needs counseling. And
Mm-hmm.
they looked at each other. The counselor said, she's going to be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one I wrote a page of in my life. It was like, I'll give you a page. You ain't taking the book. And I don't sit there and have nightmares. Well, somebody comes behind me. I get
I'm the same
even,
way. I don't like people at my back, looking at my
I
back, staring at my
get
back,
that
like, don't look over my
reflex.
shoulders.
Right, but I don't sit there. I knew it wasn't my fault. I knew that I was completely a victim at the time, and I knew that things happen to people. It's never shaped one way or other my life. It's took a page. That's it.
Yeah, I like the attitude about that. Like he's the one that needs the counseling. And I think that kind of goes along with, I see so much people on Facebook and stuff, people saying, oh, you need to different people, you need to learn to forgive. I even heard on an NDE podcast, the guy told the person's interviewing the woman, do you think someday you can forgive them? And I commented, wait a minute, don't put that on her. It's
Yeah.
not her responsibility to forgive, or that your judgment that she needs to forgive, or to even imply that she hasn't forgiven. That's
Yeah.
nobody's business. That's nobody's right to say
No.
you have to forgive someone
Oh, yeah.
that's not your right.
They say you can't go on until you forget. Excuse me? Well, I ain't gonna forgive him, number one, and I can go on. You know, I don't feel the need to
You don't
forgive
owe them
him.
anything.
No, no,
It's not our job. We didn't
no, it's
do
not.
this. They
Right.
did it. They're happy they did it, usually. Usually they
Yeah,
don't have remorse. They did. Why is responsible on us? Forgive. Why not them? Why not go seek them out and say, hey, you need to apologize, or you need to make
right,
amends, or you need to
right.
confess, or turn yourself in. Well, put it on them what they need to do because they did this, not us.
Yeah. Yeah, I never
You just took a
uh,
shower.
I never felt the need, I never felt the need to forgive the
Mhm.
person. You
Yeah,
know,
me too.
like I said, you're the sicko. You go get help.
Yeah.
You go do something, but
And some people say, even go so far as like, we don't go to like, I won't go to heaven unless I forgive this person. No, I
no,
don't think so. You don't
no,
have a just snap. Oh, okay, I forgive. It doesn't, and I'm not going to
no,
work
it
on
doesn't
doing that.
happen
I'm not
like
going to.
that. Mm-mm.
I don't owe anybody anything.
No, no, and you can't just snap it on like that. Okay,
Yeah,
well, I forgive
forgive.
you.
Yeah,
No, I never forgave, and I
like,
would have.
oh, everybody gets off scot-free. Is that it? We all got to forgive so they don't have to be to blame.
Yeah, no, mm-mm. I went to heaven. I never forgave my rapist, you know, and so I think that theory's wrong. I think that I don't feel sorry for him or anything. I just don't feel nothing for him. I
Mhm.
feel that, hey, you're really a screwed up person, you know, what you did, but I'm not gonna, you know,
Mhm.
base the
Well,
rest of my life on it.
few years back, I thought I would look, two guys jumped out, one guy jumped out of bushes and this other guy helped him. They were brothers. And when I was just 15, and they were men, but, and I found them on Facebook. I was going to tell them off, and I seen where one of them died alone
Mm,
in another state without any of his family. Good,
good.
good,
Yeah, it didn't.
good.
Mine actually died in jail. He got killed by the inmates.
Mm,
So, oh well.
yeah. If that makes me not a Christian or not, oh, well,
No,
that's what it is. I'll pay for it, won't I?
no, no, you ain't gonna pay for it. No, no.
Because I feel
Mm,
like that's God's job. It's God's job to whether he forgives or how he deals. It's not mine.
no,
That's my forgiveness matter. It's God's forgiveness that matters. So that's
absolutely,
between him and God.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah, we won't, you know, a lot of us will be judged on, I'm sure. I wasn't felt like I was judged. I felt like I was forgiven for the, you know, crazy stuff I was going through and that, you know, I think God knows your heart. He knows that if you're a good person, you know, you might be, you're human. We're going to mess up.
mm,
But when Jesus was sitting there talking to me and, you know, I was saying, I'm so sorry, you know, and he's like, you're one of mine. You're one of mine. You're
yeah.
one of mine.
My second NDE was so much like yours. I was, 25, as I told you the other day. And
Mhm.
um I was mad at first and blaming God, because I can't be here. I have kids to raise. So I was like blaming him that I'm here in heaven and dead and I got kids to raise. And then I was kind of like you. I was shown the future, and my three little boys was in their bedroom discussing the fact mom has died. And my
Mhm.
youngest, or my middle son, Jeremy, says to his brothers, I don't care that you say mom is dead. I want her back, and I want her back right now. And I felt his pain. I retracted, and I'm back up in heaven. And now I took responsibility. Oh, it's not God's fault that I died. It's mine. It's not God's fault my twins I was pregnant for, the ectopic pregnancy, that's mine. Because my first husband, he forced me to get my tubes tied when I was 20, or he'd divorced me. And then I found out I could get it reversed. I begged him for a year. He let me finally get it reversed. Then the doctor told me there's 5% more chance than, so everyone has 5% chance, let's give you 10, of having to a pregnancy. And I did it, and I took that gamble, and I
Yeah.
lost. And so it's my fault. And I did this to my tubes. I did this to my, and now my boys are going to be motherless. That's on me. I took all this, and I have said, well, back, I said, if there's a hell, that would have been my hell, to
Yeah.
see my kids crying that they can't have
Right.
mom, and wondering, are they going to hate God because they lost their mom such a young age? Maybe they'll never go to heaven. So maybe I'll never see him again. And I was just wailing. And then I put my hands up in front of my face like this as I'm trying to see Jesus, but I just now see his feet. He's sitting out by God. And I say, who else will teach them about you? Meaning my sons, who will teach them?
Right.
And then I'm back in the wheelchair. And the impact, it's
Wow.
25, I'm 63. And
Right.
every day, the impact of that is just stares me in the face. That I was
He
back
gave
in
you
the chair.
he gave you another chance to be with
Yeah,
your,
yeah.
yes.
And then I was like you, I was afraid to tell anybody for so long. What will people think? What will they say? I'll be judged.
Mhm.
And then you get to the point, whenever we get to it. And because I got to the point, I thought, what happens if I don't tell anybody? And next time when I go to heaven for good, and God, what if he says to me, why didn't you tell anyone? I gave you your
Right.
life back. Why didn't you tell them about heaven and your experience, that this is all real? And I would say, because I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want to look like a liar to people. I didn't care what people thought. That wouldn't be good enough.
Yeah.
I would feel such shame. And so I thought the chips are going to fall where they may, and I'm going
Mhm.
to tell the truth, and people can call me a liar. They can call me crazy.
Right.
They can call me wanting attention. They can call me anything. But when I go to heaven, I'm going to say to God, I did it. I told everybody, thank you. I hope I made you proud. I
Right.
hope, and like you didn't want to leave life a loser. I felt that way at 25, to the point where, gosh, I was so quiet. I hardly talked. I didn't tell my story, like about my rape, about my child abuse, very much. And I
Yeah.
felt like I should. I felt like I should teach people. I should have a voice and not be ashamed and not be afraid everybody thinks. And it took a while. But I was like you. I went to college after my NDE, and
Hmm.
I made something myself. It's like you got to do something with this chance.
Right. Right. You can't just sit back and I knew that if I ever used drugs again, a big old lightning bolt would come down and go zap. You promised, But, I just having the opportunity to come back and to be able to, prove yourself or to go on with life and live a good life, you know, um,
Because
after
we think of
being,
all the people that didn't, all the people that died of drugs,
yes, yes,
don't come back. The people die of ectopic pregnancies that don't come back. Of all the
right,
other NDEs, things people die of, and car wrecks, heart attacks, whatever, drowning. But, and that's, I told you I had a drowning at 5 years old, and
yes,
you think, I'm here and other people aren't, that had the same thing. Now what do I
right,
do with this? So,
right, right. You gotta tell people, and that was a point when, and I didn't realize the impact it would have when you did share your story until last year when I shared that on Facebook about my experience and just all the different people that were responding and in a helpful way, you know, wow, this helps and you need to share this and with more people and it wasn't encouraging, but I did it basically because I felt like I should let people know that it is real and there is help, you
and there
know.
is a heaven
Oh, definitely,
and a God and a
definitely.
Jesus and people. It's not a made up fairy tale.
No, it's not. And it's not endorphins going wild after You know, so a lot of the doctors or scientists try to say, well, it's the endorphins that go off and the chemical. No, 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 no. I was sitting there looking. I was listening to doctors. I saw what they did. There wasn't some endorphins going off in my
Right,
brain. You
right.
know, I
And
saw
and and
Jesus.
how can this stuff be so similar
Right.
if it's just that? If it's
And
just hallucinations or
I think they're realizing it more and more because more and more people are starting to come forward, you know, and back in my day, it was like they would laugh at you. I had, like I said, I told the nurse and she ran to a doctor, and then my daughter had to go through this stuff because some nurse didn't believe what I was saying. You know, even though I had a perfectly 9 pound, 8 ounce baby there, full term, she's running to the doctor. Oh, you're not gonna believe this, you know, and she told my story and they came in and did it, you know. And I think that back then, and I'm talking for me 33 years ago, you know, going on 34. Well, back then they did didn't really have the beliefs in the afterlife. Scientists and doctors were pumping that oh, chemical imbalance in the brain, you know. But I remember that when my it was my mom's aunt. Is her aunt or a great aunt? I think it was her aunt. Anyway, she was always told us a story of that when she was young, you know, I don't know how old she was to be exact, 19, 20, something. She was dying during childbirth. And she was screaming, you know, she was saying, I don't want to die. This isn't fair. You know, I'm too young to die. This isn't fair. You know, this isn't right. And then my mom was in the room, a little girl, and she all of a sudden went, oh, I don't mind. Oh my, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And then she died. So I feel that even back then, years ago, she was having a near-death experience where she actually died, but right before she died, she saw it, you know?
you know, I have found lately researching stuff about my husband's cancer, some things about hospice, and they all do list now, which I never looked this stuff before, but things to expect at the end. And they
Right.
are seeing past relatives,
Mm-hmm.
angels, and these kind of things that we're talking about, that it is scientific literature now that they're putting out that these are signs.
Well, my mom, she lived with me all the time when I was raising my girls and everything, and I took care of her the last 8 years of her life. She can walk no more. Um, and you know, they kept wanting to put her in a rest home. My mom, I don't want to, and I never would. I never would. I took care of her. But right before, about a month before she died, she would say, hey, there's my mom. There's my mom. And she goes, don't you see her sitting right next to you? And I'm going, yeah, mom. Yeah, she's here. And then about a week before she died, she was saying, you know, who are those four guys that were coming to see me? She goes, they were coming to see me and they said they were there to take me home. She goes, I thought I was home. And I said, you're home, mom, but and then I left her the day before she died. My daughter came over because I wanted to get away. I had been on hospice, and it's really hard to see, you know, your parent um, dying slowly. And I went down to see my boyfriend at the time, who's my husband now, in Riverside, and I got a call at 2 o'clock in the morning that she had passed on. But my daughter was telling me that right before she died, she took her last breath, she went, ah. Now, she used to do that when I lifted her up to put her in the bathtub because she was, you know, she was getting lifted up. She was scared, but she went, ah. So I
She's being
really,
lifted up.
yes. Mhm. Yeah, so that happened right. And then she, right after that happened, died. But
I went through that with my best friend recently. Her mom passed away, and the night before she passed away, 2 nights before she passed away. I was talking to her mom, and they had just got her into the nursing home. She had been in the hospital. And we were talking about when she was at the hospital. I said, "Did you see your daughters?" Because she had 6 girls. One had died that used to take care of her, and so they left her 5. And the other 4 hadn't come to see her only a couple of times the last 6 years. My best friend took care of her the last 6 years in her home. And so I said, "Did you see your other daughters that come to see you?" And she was, "Oh, they did. No, I didn't see them. They were right there in the room for quite a bit." And she said, "But who was in the hallway? I saw someone in the hallway." Well, the way her bed was sitting along the window and where the door was, she couldn't have seen anybody in the hallway. Plus, the last couple of
Mhm.
days there, her eyes were shut most of the time. And she was
Yeah,
talking about people being in the hallway. She saw people in the hallway. And I told my friend that, and I said, "I think she was out of body
yeah,
for a little
yeah,
bit when she was in
yeah,
the hospital." Because they told us at the hospital a couple of days before she left there with the nursing home that she's actively dying right now. They thought it would happen that night, but then
mhm,
she was good for a couple of days, and then they moved her to nursing home, and then
yeah.
died a few days later. But yeah, we'll all find out someday, won't we?
Oh, we will find out, and some of us found out.
Yes, we did. Got the
So,
T-shirt to prove it, huh?
yes, some of us already found out. But yeah,
Okay.
and that's like when people pass on, and like I said, within recently, a couple weeks ago, and, right before that, passed on, and, I just, I don't feel the grief I used to feel when that happens. Because I realized how fleeting this earth and the world is, how fast everything goes by, and how we're not going to be here, but we are going to be up, we're going to be up
Yeah.
in Jesus, and we're going to see the people
Yeah.
that we love.
And that's easy to talk about in theory when you're an NDE talking to other NDErs. But like what I'm going through with my husband, that's a whole
Hmm.
different story.
Yeah.
Because I need him here.
Yes.
And I'm completely terrified of losing him. And he says,
Mhm.
"Well, I'm not afraid because everything you've told me about your NDEs." And, he's not afraid.
Right.
But I'm terrified because I don't want to be here without him.
Well, they're not the ones that are going to be suffering. We who are left here until we meet with them again are the ones that are, you know, that's what I was telling my daughter. I said, "You're all going to be crying and so much grief, and I'll be up there. I get to be with Jesus."
Yeah.
That's
And
what
I
I
know
mean.
my husband will. He's
But,
an
but at
awesome
the same,
guy. He's a great guy, you know.
yeah, that's my
But
husband.
but it's me I'm worried about. And
Yeah, it's
everybody's
you.
coming and hugging him, and I'm so sorry, about his diagnosis, and they'll say, "Oh, how are you?" To me.
Yes.
And I'm like, "I don't mean to be selfish here," I tell my husband, but I'm worried about me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be up there with Jesus, but me, I'm gonna be down here at this hall.
Yeah, I don't want to be a widow.
That's my
Boy.
my husband. He has a pacemaker, and he's always had Hashimoto's and different health issues. And I think about, wow, if something happens to him, I'm gonna be, all alone, because I'm fairly healthy myself. I haven't been to a doctor in 29 years. When my daughter was born, I take no medications except for multivitamin every day. So I might be here a while longer, and I might not. But I tell my husband, I says, wow, if anything happened to you, you know, I just don't know what I do.
Yeah, I mean, that's our rock. That's
Yes,
our
yes, it is.
everything. And it's our other half. And we're just,
Yes.
would be just devastated.
And before I got with my husband, before I even went out with him or anything, I hadn't dated in 17 years. I was working 2 jobs, I was raising my 2 other kids, and I didn't want anything to do with anybody. And then he happened in when the granddaughter situation, and it just fell into place. And now I think of him thinking, what would I do without him? I've gotten that close with him. I've known him for 7 years. lived with them for 5 years, been married 2 years. You know, I later on in life, but for 17 years, I had no thought of anybody being in there. You know, I had my mom, I had my girls, I had so much going on. Now I'm retired.
Yeah.
And now my husband and I go on his Harley to the, casino or store or wherever, and we go fishing. We do a lot of stuff together where I couldn't see myself doing that by myself. I
I
wouldn't,
know. That's
you
where
know,
I'm at. Like we'll
yeah,
be in the car and I'll look over at him like, I just keep picturing me doing all these things without you. We're sitting in a
yeah,
restaurant and I'll look at him like, I just picturing sitting here without you. And I hate to be
right,
the Debbie Downer, and keep bringing it
right,
up because he's optimistic and happy-go-lucky and he's going to be fine. He's going to beat this. He's not
right,
worried.
yeah. Yeah, you worry because you get so used to them and their companionship, and they're making you laugh, or kissing you on the forehead, or bringing you roses, or that's the type of husband my husband is. He's
Yeah.
very attentive,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna miss that attention if something
Right.
happens to him.
Right. Right. Just that think of that being gone,
Yes.
that attention and that care, mhm,
Mm-hmm.
just swept away.
Oh, who's gonna open the jar?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
always, honey, can you open this?
Yeah. I think of that too when I can't open a jar and hand it to him.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like
who's
who's
going to do
gonna,
this?
or some little thing. I order stuff like a dresser or different stuff from Amazon, and he's puts it all together. And I'm thinking, wow, I would never be able to order it again because I don't know how you do it. You know,
Yeah.
or if you're
So,
sick, you're
so I kind
watching.
of feel like I don't know if I want to do this show sometimes because I feel like we're making light of death. We're glorifying death. And this is so not funny
Yeah,
when
yeah.
see it from the other side.
When you're on when you're left behind,
Yes, that's the
it's
word I was thinking when as soon as you said that too, left behind.
yes. When you're left behind, then it's like, what do I do now? But we'll soon be there.
Yeah. And I know my grandmas all went through it. My mother went through it. Women go through it. I have friends that went through it, become widows. And
Right.
some of them, one of them, she was talking to her husband, and all of a sudden he was slumped over on the couch and gone. Another
Mhm.
one, he kissed her goodbye, went to work. She was getting ready to get up for work, but she was still in bed. And so she finally got up and she thought, why is his truck still here? And she went out and there he was laying in the driveway. He never made it to the truck, he had a widowmaker.
Right.
Just different ones, the other one was sick for a long time and then my best friend, her husband, he's physically here, but for the last 20 years, really, he's not. He's got so many
Mhm.
conditions and mentally he's just not here. She just takes care of him. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, there's no companionship, but it's somebody she takes care of.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't want this phase of my life because I feel like I'm going to be a
Yeah.
widow. And people say,
Or,
oh, you got to have hope. You got like, no, I'm going to be a widow.
well, and that's why it's so important to grab onto today and to enjoy today. It's like I told my husband, he's saying, well, it's okay. I'll be looking at, I said, wait a minute. There's a chance I could go before you.
Yeah, we talk about that too.
And yeah, either way, it's
I'm
going to be,
fine with me going. Like even a few years ago, I
yeah,
collapsed at work and
just
they
so
put me in a
selfish.
squad and they took me to the hospital and something showed up
Right.
on my stress test and they said you got to have heart surgery and right before surgery they said no, we could give you stents or it might happen when you get a full heart or whatever and all this stuff. I'm like, I'm good. I
Yeah,
don't care. Call the
I'm
kids. I
good.
said, this is Labor Day weekend. Don't bother coming. Enjoy your weekend. I was good. And I was like, all thumbs up. Just push me. And they brought me out in 5 minutes. You got the heart of a 19-year-old. Get out of here.
And you're like, oh,
I
dang
was
it.
surprised at my reaction. There was absolutely no fear.
Yeah. No, no, no. There's not about me. Uh, Anytime. I think I've proven myself.
But when
I
it
think
comes
I've
to
done
my
it.
loved ones, my
Right.
kids and my husband, oh my
Oh,
God. And like just like today, the school shooting in tech or
uh-huh. Yeah.
yeah. Um, where was that? I'm blank. What state? Shoot, Georgia.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right.
And that's why I think, oh my gosh, if that would happen to my grandkids, and oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And that's different. We can sit here and talk about NDEs and heaven was great
Yeah.
and this and that. And if I go, but when it comes to your family and like you say,
It's
being left behind, that is
yes.
where the terror comes.
I'm very, very close to my daughters. Very close. You know, and I have one daughter that's off at college right now, and then my other daughter's here in Kansas. But, you know, we're like this. And if anything happened to me, uh, the grief that they would go, that's why I was trying to tell my daughter, hey, if anything happens to me, don't worry about it. You know, I'm looking down on you. You'll be with me someday. And I guess that's the way I view it is that, you know, whether I go or my husband goes or one of my kids go or whatever, eventually we're going to be together.
Yeah.
We're going to be together.
Yeah.
So
Just like go in the bathroom, we all go.
some of us take longer. Yeah, but I know that when it does happen for either my kids or myself or my husband, we're all going to end up the same place.
Yeah.
You know, and that's reassuring. Just like when I could hug my granddad, well, he's the only person I lost before, you know, I had my other grandma and grandpa, I had my other grandma, I never lost anybody else, but my granddad had gone first, and that's the person I saw. So and I had all these other, I knew that they knew me, you know, so I'm thinking, are those my ancestors? It's weird how your brain's kind of thinking human, but yet you're in heaven.
Mhm.
And you know, you're thinking these thoughts.
We
And then
don't
when
come back with all the answers of
I
even
know, no,
understanding our experience of how this happened, why this happened, and
no. And people want to know, people are asking you specific questions. And you're like, I don't know.
yeah,
Well, how could you not know you were there? I
yeah.
don't know. All I could tell you is what I saw. And I can't answer why, you know, these people go through all this um, rapes and murders and stuff. If there's a Jesus, I can't answer any of that.
Somebody
I
interviewed
really
me
can't.
about my stuff recently, and but asked me questions about why this or I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't. I just have questions. I don't have any answers.
right. No, no. You know, 100%, I'm 100% that Jesus is real. I actually saw him, and I tell people
Me
that.
too.
And I don't know what your experience is going to be like. Near-death experiences, some of them are along the same lines, and then some of them are different. You know, so I would not going to tell you what exactly you're going to see in this and go through when it's
Right.
your time to pass on,
Right.
because I don't know. I just know my personal,
And a lot of
you know,
people will be like, "Oh, I love that experience," and "Oh, I hate that experience." Well, we don't get to pick and choose what our
no, we
experience is going
don't.
to be. Just because they had it, don't mean that's the one you get.
Exactly.
And like I
Exactly.
had two very different ones from 5 to 25. The
Yeah.
first was out of body. And like I was this ghost just wandering around and stuff. And then the other one, I was up to heaven really fast. And it seemed like it was way, way, way up far up in space. So, life's supposed to be a mystery, I guess. We're not supposed to know.
Oh, and one thing I did notice was there's no concept of time
Hmm.
in heaven. There's no concept of time, whereas it seemed like I spent a lot of time up there talking with Jesus, and but in reality I was probably out a minute,
Yeah.
maybe 2 minutes. I don't know. I know they were putting gel on the veins, and the next thing I knew, they were jerking and I was in my body. So I don't know if that's the second time they jerked me or what, but I know that it couldn't have been as long as I thought that the time I spent in heaven.
And you're rare like me too, that you saw something in the future. We saw our family mourning
Right.
our death. And that's
And yes,
rare. Like I can remember like maybe one other person that I've heard that's had some kind of future. event. And so that was really confusing when, I come back and I would think back on it. That can't be true because I saw something that never happened. I saw my sons dying as if I had died and I didn't die. They never had to
Right.
be told that I died. So that can't be true. But then I've come to realize if God wants to show us what would have happened in the future, he can.
Oh, yeah.
He can do anything he
He-
wants.
Capable of anything, actually.
Yeah.
Some stuff we can't even comprehend. My other thing was, well, how could Jesus spend that much time with me when there's thousands and millions of people,
Mhm.
you know? And I thought, I don't know how he does it.
And I
I
thought,
have
well,
no
maybe
clue.
there is something to, they talk about parallel universe,
Mhm.
different scenarios. Maybe then another
Right.
universe, I didn't come back. And that did, I don't know. Your mind can get really boggled.
I can get,
And
yeah,
so I don't
yeah,
know.
it can go, but I don't really think I'm gonna understand it until I'm actually there for good.
Right.
Then I'll have the answers. I won't be able to come back and share them because I'll be there for good, but hey,
Yeah. And I got thinking about something today. I told my husband about my drowning NDE. I said, I just realized I had said after I had said this before, but I just started thinking about it. When I rise up from the pond, I said to myself, okay, that's far enough. I can go farther later, as in up higher, like up in the
right,
sky, way, way up. But after I said that, that's when I heard an angel's voice. I could feel where she was at, a distance from me, but I didn't see her then. And she said, don't go yet. If they find you soon, you might go back. And I just dawned on me today, I had just been thinking about going further and I decided I can go later. I'll go stay right here, right now, or have comfortable
right,
at treetops. And then she said, don't go yet. I didn't put that together before.
right,
That I had thought about going further and I decided not to. And then she told me not to. And so
right,
when I've told my NDE, I thought, well, I was a bad little girl because I did go because I didn't stay hovering over the pond. I went down the highway and I went downtown and I went running around with these kids. They didn't see me trying to play ball. And I thought, I think I was a bad little girl. And I thought maybe that's not what she meant. Maybe she meant what I had just been thinking before she said that is up higher. And then I got thinking today, I don't mean no good try to think because I don't figure it
Mhm.
out. And I thought, well, maybe if I would have went up higher, like I had no fear of heights and wanted to stay
right,
tree, maybe there's something that you can't go back after you go
right,
that high. This is how
right.
my brain works. And then I think, no, because with the twins, felt like I went way, way up through space, as
Yes.
far away, and I come back. So I just, my wheels turn and I don't get answers. I just have so many questions.
Well, I think that at that time, the angel that was telling you wanted you there. Possibility that you would have gone up, but maybe you wouldn't have come back.
That's what she
You
said.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't go yet.
yeah.
If they find you soon, you might go back.
You're right, right. And
So
and
if they didn't find me soon, obviously I wouldn't have went back because I would have been dead too long under the water, right?
right, right.
But if they find you soon, don't go yet. The don't go yet is what I'm confused about. Don't go
Yeah.
yet. Go where? So
She,
now I'm like thinking at my age, like, go where? Where did she mean? Did she mean like further up? I didn't think about that today because I always thought she meant like go downtown. So
oh
I
no,
don't
she
know.
probably meant don't go further up because
Yeah.
once you
Yeah.
maybe
Like I wouldn't, like my body wouldn't, like my soul wouldn't come back in my body if I went
right,
too far.
right, right.
So I don't
It
know.
wasn't your time. It wasn't your time.
Yes. And that right before I drowned, when I saw that board floating in the water, I decided to put my little belly on it and go out to the center of the pond is what killed me. So my brother come and took the board and then I drowned. But right when I saw that board, I remember so clearly having this thought, and I didn't talk about it for a long time, but there's this thought that was something telling me, pay attention because Something's going to happen and you're not going to talk about it for a long time, but someday you will be talking about it, and it's very significant. There was this silence, this almost like time stood still moment right before I grabbed that board. Like something is about to happen to you. And it
Right.
is very, very, very strong, telepathic kind of knowing moment. I was 5,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
And so you don't run tell everybody. I love the kids that do. Run and tell people right away exactly what happened. You know, I
Yeah.
didn't. I assume most kids don't.
Well, and we do have that gut instinct that warns us about fear. And I
Mhm.
felt before, I was actually the guy came behind me. I felt that like shivers, like not even knowing anybody was there, just a warning. And I remember as a little girl, we used to walk to the beach all the time in our bathing suit, Redondo, and I was walking and I seen this car going this way. It was like a little Volkswagen. And I just looked at the guy and I knew he was going to turn around for me, which he did. And he followed me through paths and alleys and everything else. He was following me. And I had fear. I knew that he was out to get me. And I must have been about 11, I'm thinking.
Mhm.
Let me see, I was in the Philippines, 9 and 10. Yeah, I probably was about 11. Anyway, I thought running up these stairs, I knocked on this door and a lady opened it up. And then he took off. But that just knowing, I knew he was going to turn around. I had that.
I think there's angels among us. That
Oh, yeah.
they know when something's about to happen, and they're with us and kind of give us a little, okay, this is going to happen now. You get a little
Yeah.
nudge or a little warning. Don't. Um, I remember like 10, 11 years old, we left the country, moved because our parents split up. We lived in town and my family was gone all the time. I was youngest of 5, and I was home alone and hungry, and I was standing on our sidewalk, and this old man across the street in his little house told me to come over, and I'm standing on his side of the sidewalk of the street. And he says, I see what's going on in your house and it's not right. And I thought, how does he see what's going on inside my house?
Yeah.
And he says, come on in and my wife will fix you dinner. And while I really liked to had a dinner, but I'd never seen a wife around the house. I'd seen him out. And something told me if you go in that house, you'll never be seen again. And that's
Right.
not something that was said back then in the early 70s that,
Mhm.
people
Yeah.
abduct you and stuff. There's something very clear. If you go in that house, you will never be seen. They'll never know what happened to you. You'll be right across the street and nobody will ever know. And I did not go in that house. He'd
Yeah.
give me
See,
money and I would go to the store and buy candy, but I'm going to
yeah.
house.
Yeah. I think we have people or spirits who have come before us, relatives, watch over us. And absolutely. I believe that. I've been protected a few times. And well, I should have never survived half the stuff I have, and I feel like I'm supposed to be here for a
We
reason.
must be here for a reason, for somebody that is very special that God wants to save, to hear
Right.
what we have to say that'll help somebody in some way.
Oh, I feel well, yes. Just by the people that, the outpouring I got when I did the Facebook post, the people were, oh my, you don't believe how much you help so-and-so, or you helped me understand this, or you helped me, and that's what did it for, was if it could be helpful to somebody, going through what we went through,
Mhm.
then I was gonna post it, and I did. But I waited 33 years to do it.
Yeah, I waited a long time on mine too. Let's see, 25 from the last one, and I was probably 55. It's about 30 years
Yeah,
before. And it was 2011 is when it was. And I just started to learn to get on the internet and Google. I thought, okay, I got this thing here that I can look up anything I want. What do I want to look up? And I thought, I had just learned what these are called, near-death experiences.
Yes,
So I typed that up. And all of a sudden, here comes Jeffrey Long's site, the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation, NDRF. And it
right.
said, real big letters, submit your story. I'm like, oh, I have a place to tell it. And I grabbed that laptop. I just started type. And I
Right.
didn't even stop and proofread, spell check, nothing, because I couldn't wait to hit submit, send, enter, whatever.
Yes,
I couldn't
yes,
wait. And as soon as I was sitting on the floor, I think it was New Year's Eve, and when this camper, because my husband's working away, and I did it. And I thought, like, God, there, I did it. Like I showed glory to you. And I thought that was it. That was over, there, I did
mhm,
it. I
right.
didn't think there'd be any more to it. And I didn't realize that was just the beginning of sharing my story.
Well, that was so strange, living next door to Paul, you know, lived next door to him for years. We had a place up in Big Bear and he had the $1,400 a month back then. But anyway, that was about 18 years ago. And he had the house next door. Now, I don't know if he used that as a vacation home. I know that they were off doing documentaries. Well, when he was saying, asking my mom to do the plants and as to what, keep an eye on the house, I thought they were doing documentaries like, in Africa, showing the wild animals. I didn't know what kind of documentaries he was doing. And then about a year ago, I'm sitting there, I'm going, oh my gosh, that's Paul. And it was my next door neighbor.
Where's your husband at?
Hi,
Is he
Abby.
nearby to get him?
Yeah,
Here, come
he's
say hi.
he's wild and crazy man.
Her husband's a musician, I think.
Magician.
Magician. What did I say? Musician. Magician.
Nah,
Magician. Look how long we've been talking.
uh,
It's 9
That's
o'clock.
why I
We
come up
started.
if you need anything.
I don't need anything. But we're recording, so you're live here.
Oh, you cut that
Yeah,
off.
No, I ain't cutting it out.
he was teasing me. He said, I'm gonna bring in a cup of hot tea. And when you turn this cup hot, it shows his name and my name and little butts. I'm going, don't you dare. He's like,
You say he's a magician?
yes, he's a magician right there. You
Hi.
see him?
No, you're
Do a trick
Steve?
for him.
I have nothing there.
You're
Uh-huh.
Steven?
Oh.
What's
No,
that?
that was kindergarten.
Huh?
Pulled his finger apart.
Oh, okay.
Those, these dogs. Do you guys have dogs?
Yes.
Bet you don't have any like ours. Irritating.
Hey, come on in the picture.
They're rescue
No,
dogs.
don't
There
leave.
they are.
Don't leave.
They're attacking each other.
Oh,
like
he's
this.
rendering lard.
Penny.
My
You
husband's
see him?
rendering lard, so there's more
No,
important.
that's funny.
Oh, what's his
There's
name?
Penny.
What is it?
That's Penny. And
Penny.
that's Lucky.
Come here, Lucky.
And
Come
Fluffy?
here, Lucky.
Lucky.
You're the darky.
Yeah, they're constantly
All
attacking
right,
us.
down.
The Lucky, he was tied to a fence next door when he was a puppy, and the guy didn't feed him. He didn't give him water. He'd walk right past him when he had him on the head. And so we ended up feeding him every day, putting dog food there and putting water. Well, this went on for about 3 or 4 months. And finally, I said, honey, I sit on the front porch and that dog cries at me, and he knows I feed it, so I have to get up and feed it. And he goes, yeah, just same thing to me. That's why I gotta feed it. So then, day after Valentine's Day, he went over to the guy, goes, we want to take the dog off your hands. We know if you don't feed it, water it, Goes, yeah, well, that'd be $150. And so we actually had to pay $150 to rescue that dog.
Oh,
Yeah, but so he ran over to our house and he had been on this chain, about a 3-foot chain for months, and of course here running through the house, even in the snow, he was kept outside, and so Now he has full reign of the yard. He's on our bed going, do you mind scooting over? Yeah. So now,
Dogs crouch out of bed. Okay.
yeah, he does
Yeah.
this big old dorky dance where he sits there, dorky. They're weird, but we saved them both. They're rescue dogs.
We have two dogs. We both got puppies, but the oldest one's 10 years old now. So he's
Mm,
getting pretty fat and lazy.
yeah, I think these dogs are too.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I'll get this ready and I will send it out to you. Probably be ready by morning. It says as long as it is, it'll take longer to get ready.
Oh, I said, oh God, I hope we don't run out of things to say.
Oh, never,
But
never.
you're easy to talk to, Peggy.
All
You're
right.
easy to talk
Thanks.
to.
Bye.
Okay, you have a good one.
Nice to meet you.
You too.